Doc, come in. Are you there? Hey, Doc, are you there?
Wait, move unit deserted. Remaining units contained.
Hi, my name's Gabe Newell. I'm CEO of Valve. We're the makers of Half-Life 2 and Counter-Strike, and I'm going to be telling you about the Xbox version of Half-Life 2. So the decision to do an Xbox version was made very early on. Jay Stelly, who headed up development for Half-Life 2, has a console background, so we had it running on the Xbox fairly early. In addition, there are a set of interesting technical challenges, how we do memory management and how we do handle user interface that are actually sort of interesting across the board, and we always had wanted to tackle those. But the decision to do Xbox was made at the beginning. One thing that we've always felt was really important and has been important for our success has been networking and being a good client of the internet. And until Xbox Live, none of the consoles were able to do that. When you look at the value we created for people, a lot of it was in giving them more content over time, and that's what drove our success in a lot of ways. So now as the console platforms are being able to do those things, they become a lot more attractive for us. I don't find thinking about the platform nearly as useful as thinking about the gamer and the game experience. I think that those distinctions are overrated, and just a sharper focus on what the player is thinking about and experiencing is just, you get a much better return for thinking about the player than you do worrying about, is this a console experience or a PC experience? The most meaningful reward or sense of accomplishment has come from interacting with gamers, longtime fans who have the game. We brought a bunch of people out here. We run into them when we go to events, and getting a sense from them that we didn't screw it up, right? That we had this tremendous opportunity, that we had this really loyal following, and they're saying, you know, good job, that was more than I expected. So much of what we do is like what we're working on right now. You know, so to me, like if you ask me today what I'm thinking about the emotional reactions that people have to that security guard who knocks over the can, because that was more successful than we were expecting it to be. People hate that guy. Like, you know, I get the opposite of fan mail for that guy saying, why didn't I get to, you know, blow him up later? Why didn't he reappear later in the game so I could get even with him, you know, when I was powerful? And, you know, given what we're developing right now, I'm like saying, okay, that worked. It was less intentional than it should have been from a design perspective. How do we do more of that? So as we look going forward, what are the functions that we think we need, you know, in terms of billing, anti-piracy, updating, incremental content? We took a stab at packaging those services together in Steam, and so there's sort of a laundry list of the functions we'd like to see in future consoles, right? And we think that our requirements aren't really that different from other developers, that they're going to arrive at the same conclusion that, oh yeah, instant messaging inside of the game to people who aren't in the game, that's a good idea. Being able to do billing and is a good idea. And in the future, doing things like micropayments or other solutions for mod content or third-party content, that's a good idea that Steam doesn't have, that would be nice to see coming out of these platforms. So we do expect that any platform has to look at these requirements from developers and come up with a strategy for how they're going to offer them to us or to other developers. In terms of for future consoles, I think everything that you've seen on the PC are of value to customers, whether it's modifications or updates or new maps, and those are of tremendous value to customers. We sold more copies of Half-Life the third year than we did the first year. Why? It was lots of reasons, but one of the biggest was there were more mods and maps and player models and things like that. So consoles need to move in that direction, because if they do, gamers are going to reward them. That's part of the experience that's really valuable. And game companies like ourselves and platform providers really need to figure out how to do that. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoy playing Half-Life 2 on the Xbox when we ship in the third quarter.
I'm Jay Stelly. I'm a senior engineer here at Valve and the project lead for Half-Life 2. And today I'm going to talk about how we got all of Half-Life 2 into the Xbox. I mean, we started out with this kind of a really hard problem for the Xbox, right? We've got this game where a bunch of people designed it and didn't pay any attention to the fact that it's got to fit into the Xbox and run on the Xbox's hardware. So, yeah, I feel like we're really pushing the Xbox hard. We're making it do things. If you were working on a console game from scratch, designed specifically for the Xbox, there's a lot of those things you just decide not to do because you do something that was more attuned for the Xbox's hardware. So we've built a lot of new technology specifically for the Xbox to make that happen. Some things, we just had to work harder at how we managed memory and how we organized our data in memory. And so that's just, taking more time to write the code than we have on the PC. But really that doesn't get you very far compared to how far you have to go. So we've done a lot of work with streaming, especially. So we're constantly streaming stuff through the Xbox. We're using the hard drive and the DVD. So we're playing music off the DVD. We're bringing stuff from the DVD, installing it on the hard drive. Then we stream it into the Xbox's memory. And on the Xbox, you've got a really nice unified memory architecture, so you can just stream stuff straight off the disk right where you need it. If you're on a PC with less memory than you need to run Half-Life 2, then occasionally through the game might stop and hitch for a second while it loads something. And on the Xbox, we have far less memory, but we've added a lot of new technology to make sure that we don't do that. We're always bringing this stuff in as you need it. So that's a big shift in the game, and that you don't get those hitches at all. We're also working on improving the lighting model, because on the Xbox we actually have one set of hardware and we have a lot more control over it than we're used to. So we can do some things there that are specifically designed for the graphics hardware in the Xbox. Some things are more difficult playing with the controller, some things are less difficult, like the example I gave before about driving and shooting. Driving I think is easier, but driving and shooting is a little bit harder. And we've adjusted the controls to compensate for that. And like I'm saying, that's an ongoing process, obviously. So so far we haven't had to change anything material about the game, and we don't plan at all to change any of the core features of the game. I mean, it's all the characters and monsters and weapons and levels that are in Half-Life 2 on the PC are going to be there in Half-Life 2 on the Xbox. We're always committed to doing a lot of testing, a lot of play testing to make sure we've gotten it just right. So we're not going to nail that down until we really have to call it done. But yeah, we're pretty happy with what we have so far. I'd say it's working really well, and we've proven that we're going to do it, and that it's going to be successful. And so we'll just keep tuning it as we get people into play. Since we're doing it in-house, I mean, we're taking it really seriously. This is not just getting the Xbox version out. We're moving the source engine into the console space, and we want a really high quality product. A lot of people who've asked us about licensing or who have licensed the engine have asked us specifically about our plans for Xbox, and so we're definitely planning to bring the licensing over into the Xbox world and also into consoles in general. This is really this is the first time we've done the console stuff in-house, so it's our first step into making more long-term investments in consoles. This isn't just to get the product over the Xbox. This is for us to kind of start thinking long-term about consoles, and the next generation of consoles definitely figures into that. I think so far I'm really happy with what we've done to kind of squeeze the game into the Xbox, and really don't feel like we've made any real compromises so far. I mean, it's Half-Life 2. It's the whole game with everything in it. It's great to finally be talking about Half-Life 2 for the Xbox, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to tell you guys about it, and I hope you'll be playing the game soon. I can't wait to get it to you.
My name is Mark Laidlaw, and I'm the writer on Half-Life and Half-Life 2. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about the background of the story for Half-Life 2 and how we came up with things in the story. Half-Life 2 continues the story of Half-Life 1, but you don't really need to have played Half-Life 1 to understand it. Even if you played Half-Life 1, you're going to have a lot of questions when you start Half-Life 2. Gordon Freeman is the protagonist, the viewpoint character of the story, and he really starts on the run without a lot of clues about what he's doing and why he's there. This is one of the things that we enjoyed playing with in the Half-Life franchise, is letting the player figure out for themselves who they are, what they're doing, why they're there, while these terrible things are happening to them. Well, when we set out to build Half-Life 2, we were in some ways creating the world all over again. Half-Life 1 was so self-contained that you didn't really get a sense of anything outside the confines of the Black Mesa Research Facility, where almost all of that first game took place. So we spent a lot of time thinking about the world that was suggested by Half-Life 1 and thinking of ways that that could open into a really limitless set of possibilities for future games. We wanted something that we ourselves could explore this universe for a long time. Mod authors could come in and pick a corner of it and just develop it, that there were a lot of different threads you could follow, little parallel stories. Half-Life 1, there was a lot of other adventures were told through the points of view of other characters in Black Mesa at the same time as Gordon Freeman. And that was a great thing for people to develop the first game, because they understood Black Mesa. We wanted a world that would encompass a lot of different kinds of threats and historical events and different kinds of aliens, so that other people, when they want to come in and play around in this world, will have a really sort of lush, fertile playground to mess around in. I think we really expected a lot of people to compete with us in that space after Half-Life. Like, a lot of people would really take that stuff and try to do it, but we found, again, we had picked such a really specific set of problems to solve that they really don't apply to most kinds of games. The Half-Life kind of game is this very specific, particular thing. I mean, not many people want to tackle the issue of, how do I have a main character who never speaks? We have to write every scene so that we're either not drawing attention to that or we're using that somehow. So that's a great challenge for us, and it keeps us really focused. But I don't think a lot of other games, it's irrelevant to what a lot of other people want to accomplish. So raising the bar, in some ways it kind of affects the competitions, but in most ways it really affects just us, and we're really aware of that. How do we just keep progressing at a really steady pace and outdo ourselves? In the opening of the game, we let the player explore the city and get to know their surroundings and learn about the world, and we let the player really set their own pace for a while. Well, now this was a really interesting design challenge, because what we had was something that on paper sounded like a bunch of empty levels. It sounded really boring. We knew that what we wanted to do there was create a sense of atmosphere, and again, immerse you in this world that you've never seen before. Learn about the rules of the world, learn what kind of characters inhabit it. But at the same time, this is the opposite of it's not so much the case now, but when we made Half-Life, the idea of starting a game without a weapon in your hand was just alien to everything else that was being done at the time. I think people expected that of Half-Life 2, just in parallel to the first game. So we knew we were going to let you explore for a little while, but we really didn't know entirely how to build that space. So what we did was we concentrated on atmosphere. We tried to create through art and through broadcast announcements and through the dialogue of the citizens around you this sense of oppression, and you're in a familiar environment, but it's been altered in some ways you don't really understand yet. There's always more stuff than you can use. I think with Half-Life, we cut easily a dozen monsters before we shipped. And it was a similar thing here. We probably had 2 or 3 dozen monsters and things like that we loved, but cut somewhere along the line. And these things, they never really go away. Sometimes the fans pull them out. They find out about them. They're in the SDK, and people bring them to life. A lot of times we will revisit things. There are things in Half-Life 2 that we wanted to do in Half-Life 1, but we just couldn't find a place for them. Some of those were scenes, some were ideas for gameplay, but I think a lot of the things that we didn't get to this time, if there's value in them, they're still there. We'll still pursue those. So I think that's one of the things coming out of the end of Half-Life 2. We're looking forward to, how do we get to explore this material further? So I think the things that are gone for good, people probably are better off that they're gone for good, but a lot of stuff that we have that we're looking forward to playing around with some more. This is to all the Xbox Half-Life 2 fans out there. I'm really excited that you're going to be able to get a chance to play this game on Xbox, and hope you love the game. Thanks a lot for your time.
Wait, no lost unit deserving. Remaining units contained.
Was that you knocking? I didn't even know we still had a door.